In this situation, let's see, we're going to have a little bit different, right? Our denominator and our numerator are a little different here. So we have 5x plus 21 on top, not factorable, but the bottom is. So 5x plus 21 on the bottom, we have x plus 5 times x plus 5, or x plus 5 squared. So we want our x-intercepts. X-intercepts come from numerator equaling 0. So, whoops, sorry. 5x plus 21 is 0. So we get that 5x equals negative 21, or x is equal to negative 21 over 5. Might be easier to use that as a decimal for yourself when graphing. So that's negative 4.2, whatever's easier. Y-intercept we're going to get from setting 0 equal, or x equal to 0. Again, if you want to go back to the original, it might save you some time. Totally up to you. I'm going to go back to the original. So 5 times 0, and my real reason for that is that the 0 terms or the x terms are really going to cancel out. So it just kind of saves me a little bit of trouble. Oops, shouldn't have written x there. That should have been a 0. Okay, so we get 21 25ths, 21 over 25, just to kind of get an idea of where to put that on the graph, is going to give us 0.84. So just to kind of estimate where to put that on the graph. We also need our vertical asymptote, and we get that by setting the denominator equal to 0. So we get x plus 5 squared is equal to 0, which just means x plus 5 is 0, which means that x equals negative 5. And that's our vertical asymptote. Here we're in a slightly different situation. So we see that the numerator has a degree of 1, but the denominator is a degree of 2. So the numerator's degree is smaller. When the numerator's degree is smaller, we're in the situation where it's automatically y equals 0. All right, so let's take a look at that. Automatically y equals 0. So our horizontal is y equals 0. So now let's take a look, see if we can graph this. All right, so, whoops, let's make that a little straighter. Oh, it's not much better. All right, so y equals 0 is our horizontal. We know that our vertical is negative 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's get those intercepts on there. So we have just shy of positive 1. And the, let's see, negative 4.2, 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere around there. Okay. All right. So, and negative 4.2, though it seems like it doesn't make sense, you're going to see. Well, you're going to see. So it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily have y is equal to 0. It can happen, but it is going to be an asymptote, meaning that we are going to approach it. So this is one of those weird cases, which is why you really always want to refer to your, whether it's a graphing calculator or Desmos, some form of graphing calculator to really get a better picture of the whole thing. Because unless you make a gigantic table, you really don't know for sure what is going on. But you can get the main parts. But you can miss a lot without actually having the entire thing kind of graphed for you. Same goes if you don't zoom out far enough, you kind of miss out on the important parts. So this is going to do something a little bit strange. And as you kind of start to look at our table, let's kind of make a table here. Let's see. So we have, oh, I don't know, we need some negatives here. Let's put in like x and y, maybe negative 8.5 is going to give us negative 1.76. Negative 8 is going to give us negative 2.1. Negative 7.5 is going to give us negative 2.64. Negative 7 is going to give us negative 3.5. Let's see. Negative 6.5 is going to give us negative 5.1. So you can start to kind of see what's going on over there. Negative 8.5 would be somewhere over here, and we're getting kind of close to that negative 1, and we're getting smaller and smaller. And again, unless you start to put in really big numbers, it's really kind of hard to see. For example, if I were to just look at these numbers, it almost looks like I'm just going to get really close to -1. But in fact, if I start to plug in really far negative numbers, like -30, I'm going to get like -0.2. So I am going to want to kind of take a look at what the graph looks like on a graphing device. And it's going to give me something along these lines. Now I can do the same thing to the right of that -5. I can start to make a table. Again, I'm really going to want to kind of refer to my graphing calculator to help me out here, because this one does something a little strange. It's going to come up and then it's going to come back down. Now, I know it seems like we shouldn't cross an asymptote, but that's not necessarily the case. We just want to always be getting close to it at the ends. So at the end here, I'm going to start coming right back down to that red line. Over here on the left, I'm starting to get really close to that blue line. Even though I cross over it, it's still okay. It still counts as an asymptote there. Okay, so again, really going to want to rely on your graphing calculator for this, or Desmos. Last one here. So again, we can factor first. Numerator can't be factored. It's just 5. Let's see, that's x minus 6, x plus 1. So to get the x-intercept, we would set the numerator equal to 0, but that's not possible, so there are none here. To get our y-intercept, we're going to set x equal to 0. So that's going to be 5 over 0 squared minus 5 times 0 minus 6, which is -5 over 6. Okay. To get the vertical asymptote, what we're going to do here is set the denominator equal to 0. X minus 6 times x plus 1 equals 0. So set each one equal to 0 using the 0 product property. So x is 6, x is -1. Okay. And then lastly, we want to look at our degrees. So since there is no variable up top, technically that's x to the 0. Okay. 0, x to the 0, technically. So that's a degree of 0 up top. 2 is the degree of the bottom. So the numerator is less than the denominator. Let's see. Numerator is less than the denominator, so we're going to use y is equal to 0. So our horizontal asymptote is y is equal to 0. Now let's see what we can do about graphing this. All right, so we just said we don't have any x-intercepts. We have the horizontal asymptote, y is 0. We have the vertical asymptote, -1. Okay. We also have the vertical asymptote, 6. Okay. And then we have a y-intercept of -5, 6. So just shy of -1. There are no x-intercepts whatsoever, so we're not going to be crossing over this axis because we're never touching it. So definitely something we can either make a table for, or we're going to want to take a look at Desmos for. But when we do go ahead and graph this, 5 divided by, let's see, we have x squared minus 5x minus 6. And again, you may need to zoom out to get a better clue of what's going on, but you'll see it's going to do something like this. Almost parabola-like, but not really. Kind of a weird boxy version of a parabola in the middle. And then on the left, kind of what we're used to seeing. So we're going to find those main important pieces by setting things equal to 0 and checking the numerator and denominator degrees. But otherwise, you can use your calculator to kind of get a bigger picture of this. Otherwise, by hand, you could make a table. It's just more time consuming.